a former senator in the
Republican Party. I
Yeah.
don't even know which.
I forgot which one, but-
legislature. 33rd, maybe.
he
can tell us.
Okay, so we'll bring on. We're going to stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, we're good. Okay, we'll get him on. Yeah, there you go. Republican candidate for Senator Chris Duenas. Good morning.
Half a day, Chris.
Half a day, Chris and Bree. I'm really excited to shoot the breeze on the link.
Hey, I like that. I like the way you said that. Let's just.
See what
Came
he
up
did
with that
there?
myself.
We'll just start first. I want to kind of seg into what the last candidate had said. He had talked about, crystal meth is so bad, it's so terrible, we got to do all this stuff. But he totally did not really have much support for the Mandania Drug Task Force. Chris, if elected to the next Guam legislature, what would you do to kind of work? And do you think that we need that type of organization, a multi-agency effort to really just kind of go in and, bang on some doors and bust some people? Is that something that you would support?
Chris and Bree, I think Frank and Chief J.I., of course they have the institutional knowledge. I was there when Mandania Task Force was put together and announced under Governor Cowell. We first had a senior staff meeting, and then we had an all-staff meeting for all law enforcement. And I can tell you the Chief J.I. explained it, I think, the best yesterday by saying that the real concept behind the Mandania Task Force was to use all of the resources of law enforcement, to include port police, airport police, DOC. It was kind of an all hands on deck approach. So I can understand, Chief Frank's concerns about follow through on the case. But the bottom line is like you have been talking about, Chris and Bree, and yesterday, such an emotional and impassioned discussion with Senator Talina Nelson, that this is absolutely an epidemic. It is something that Guam has to deal with now. And so you need all hands on deck. So I will support, calling on the chief and ensuring that GPD has the central role. But I will support that we need a real all hands on deck. Customs is really, it's kind of incredible, Chris and Bree. Customs is really interdicting a lot of these drugs, but unfortunately, it's just a fraction of what's actually on the streets. And that's what's killing our kids. That's what's killing our island. And we got to step up and get after it. And I think Mandania, the idea was to really have a solid force and everybody involved. No wrong door when it comes to law enforcement. And I will advocate for that.
Right. Do you think that the Mandania Drug Task Force has become a partisan issue? Because I can't find a Democrat out here who thinks that we need to have a multi-agency effort to combat crystal methamphetamine. Why is it that we're only hearing Republicans talk about not just Mandania, but having some kind of, again, multi-agency body that is going after these drug importers?
Chris, I'm a nice guy, but I don't mince my words. I think it is political, and it's unfortunate. The bottom line is that we cannot turn a blind eye to what's going on, and the bottom line, and I think Chief J.I. really has he, like I said, it was his team's iteration. When I saw the faces of all the law enforcement people that were at the governor's office, in senior staff, in the large conference room, and I saw the dedication and the commitment that all those officers had. Because, the thing about this, like I said, once again, and I don't mind talking about this the whole time because it's so important. The thing is that what you saw this week and what you guys have been doing in your impassioned plea on how this crystal methamphetamine epidemic is killing our island. When you saw the faces of the customs officers, when you saw the faces of DOC officers, when you saw port police, airport police, when you saw everybody there, they all have family that are addicted to. They have friends. They've gone to funerals. They've seen people die at young ages, promising lives stripped away. And so the bottom line is we can't afford politics on this issue. And the bottom line is we need all the help because law enforcement right now is very underfunded, Chris and Bree. And so the police, they're struggling. Chief Frank, you're right. I mean, I can go out on the road right now, guaranteed. And I could speed, I could cross lanes, I could, drive crazy, and chances are I'm not going to get pulled over. I'm not going to get caught, maybe unless somebody calls it in. But the bottom line is that these police resources are stretched. They need help, and an all hands on deck approach is something that I think you need to strip politics from that and just get the job done.
Right on. I guess we'll just continue with the public the safety thing. What would you do to increase protection for village residents when it comes to these crimes we're seeing with robberies, home invasions, those type of things? What do you think we need to do to kind of make sure that our people are protected from that?
One of the other things that I know Chief Jai didn't talk about yesterday, but he talked about his community policing effort. That was all part of all hands on deck from the senior staff under Governor Calvo. As you remember, I was legislative liaison as well as Guam Housing Corporation president under the Calvo administration. One thing about our administration and the things that when we worked in senior staff, there was a directive that was put out and you had to get it done. Otherwise, you might as well bring that letter that you don't want to bring down to the front office, which means that you're out the door. But the thing is that one of the things under our administration and under Chief J.I. and I had a hand in it as well was establishing the neighborhood watch. I'll tell you right now, this neighborhood watch is really what's causing a lot of these busts, a lot of the, I know that particularly in Sinohanya and in Tamuning, I mean, that thing goes off all day long, and it really has provided a really large layer of safety to our community. I think the bottom line is what I want to concentrate if I'm elected in the 36th Guam legislature is I want to be a fiscal hawk. I want to make sure, as Talina said yesterday, it's good to have some things. She mentioned Aganya restoration. It's good to have some things in our government, but we need to get real about fully funding the priorities. Because we have a lot of programs, Chris and Bree. We got good cops, we got good customs people, we got good corrections people. But if they don't have the tools to do their job, they're all constantly working with one hand tied behind their back, or sometimes both hands tied behind their back. So it really comes down to funding and getting serious at the legislature that we're going to have to say no to some things and yes to the things that really matter to our community.
All right, Senator. So let's get real. What are some of the agencies out there that you see that we just don't need right now, that we need to prioritize funding for education, public safety, and healthcare, and agencies that we just really don't need right now?
Well, so if you look at the all of the back and forth in the fiscal year 19 budget, when the Trump tax and cuts came through, and we had that fiscal cliff that our public auditor and others talked about, the government of Guam at that time cut $30 million along with raising this regressive 1% tax on the people to collect the resources that it did. The government of Guam was able to cut $30 million. Now in the fiscal 22 budget, there was a $30 million surplus. The bottom line is, Bree, it's about prioritizing where you put the money. We do need to streamline government. There's no question about that. Reorganization was on the table. Senator Frank Ogden put that on the table. It was never addressed. Mm-hmm. If the legislature doesn't get real and get true about reorganization, restructuring, that is really where you find your savings. It's really hard to say you're going to eliminate one agency. But what it comes down to is when you have those agencies that are not the true priorities of the government, you can freeze.
It's also difficult to eliminate deputy directors, apparently.
That was part of the all hands on deck, right? I mean, the bottom line is the government of Guam does not cut $30 million in its budget if it wants to. It does it when it has to. And so it had to do it in fiscal year 19 because we had this monumental tax reduction. But until COVID came, Chris and Bree, I really think that economic model was working because it was more hands in the monies of companies who were hiring more people, who were spending more money. The economy was moving before COVID came, and that's why you saw the surpluses. So the idea is, even with the 1%, down the line when our economy recovers again, we're going to have to look at possibly repealing that because we're taking too much money out of the community. You need to have money in people's hands. So really, there's not a silver bullet and saying what agency are you going to eliminate. It's how are you going to reorganize, restructure, and if an agency that is not a true priority of the government, you freeze their budget, you freeze their travel, you freeze their hiring, and you make sure that you really redirect those monies to the true priorities. We need cops, we need firemen, We need customs officers. We need people on the front line. The guys out there are tired right now, and we need to focus funding truly on education, our hospital, our healthcare system, and on education.
Right. And you know, and I get it. Employees, GPD, they're all tired, but the people of Guam are also tired.
Yep,
They're tired
we're
of
tired.
hearing
Yes.
about these nice
Tired.
buzzwords of reorganization. We're going to do this. We're going to prioritize
So let's just
this and
ask
that.
you, Senator, Bureau of Women's Affairs, cut, yes or no?
I honestly don't think we need it.
What
I
about
really don't.
What about the Guam Energy Office?
I think the Guam Energy Office does some good work. I don't know if it's still 100% federally funded, but the bottom line is I think that an office like that can be probably absorbed into public works and not have a standalone organization and have it as a function of public works. There's a lot of things that can be done, Chris and Bree. It's just it takes the urgency to do it, and we're there now. You know, when I came in the Camacho administration in 2003, we were devastated. There was barely a $300 million budget. We cut 20% across the board in government of Guam. We held the line on spending. It took us the whole 8 years under the Camacho administration to recover from the devastation that we walked into. If you want to do it and you have to do it, if you have the commitment to do it, you can save government resources and prioritize.
Right. And I think it was in the Camacho Moylan, or was it Camacho Cruz administration, that we did see these plans for reorganization.
It did. Actually, it was the Camacho Moylan administration. It carried over to the Camacho Cruz administration. The bill that Frank Uggan Jr. introduced during 2019 budget cycle, I believe, was mirrored under the 14 agencies, master agencies, that would assume a lot of the duties and responsibilities to make sure that we could prioritize our government and you know, once again, it was under the Camacho administration leading towards the Calvo administration that we went from 16,000 government employees down to around 12,000 now. Now, those government employees are getting paid well. And I know a lot of those government employees that appreciate the fact that they get their pay and they have resources to do what they need to do in their office other than massive amount of employees, because sometimes that leads to inefficiency.
Right, Chris, we have a minute here, so we'll go ahead and give you the floor for your closing statement.
You know, Chris and Bree, once again, your show has been amazing. You know, a great start, and I've been enjoying it. One of the guests that you had early on, I believe she was first out of the gate, was Pika Ferren. What I also want to concentrate on, and right now there's an affordable building system home that's being built on Chamorro Land Trust property that I want to unveil with KUAM in the weeks to come. The bottom line is our Chamorro Land Trust, as Pika said, is the key to really rebuilding families as well. I want to concentrate, along with being a fiscal hawk in the legislature, I want to concentrate on affordable housing. We have to, this homeless problem can be dealt with if we create more affordable housing. That's one of the main barriers other than drug addiction and some of the other things that are going on. Put Chris Duenas in the 36th Guam election, and every single day I will work hard for you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Good luck.
Good
Hey,
luck.
thanks a lot. Enjoy it.
All
All right,
take
appreciate
care.
Take care.
9:35. KUAM News' Decision 2020. Remember, we're doing this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have candidate interviews from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then Fridays, we're bringing back the after party to close out the week.